As the show continues on now, I'm at St. David's Episcopal Church talking with Barb Weza about Community Lifeline and some changes on the horizon. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
It's always nice. Thank you. I'm well. It's always nice to talk with you and catch up with you. Over the years, we've had many conversations about Community Lifeline and your work there. And things are starting to change a little bit for you.
They are. They are. After 16 years of direct services, I am receding from direct services and will be the development director of Community Lifeline, going out and about into the community, overseeing fundraising, public relations, and just being a voice and a face for Community Lifeline in the community.
So that
long-term sustainability.
That means then there'll be someone else taking over that role. Before we announce who that is, how many folks do you have working or volunteering with Community Lifeline?
Well, currently we have a staff of about 12, and before COVID we had over 250 volunteers from 19 churches and community organizations throughout Mason County and Thurston County. And when COVID hit, that impacted us and our volunteers, all being very vulnerable. And so we had to hire a kitchen staff, and we've probably got about a third of those back. So we are continuing to do that. We are going to continue to safely bring volunteers back. But we built these services on volunteers 16 years ago.
That's amazing. So tell me now, who's going to be kind of running the day-to-day at Community Lifeline? Yes,
so we have hired a shelter manager. Her name, she is a familiar name in the community, Athena Ayers. She has experience at Turning Point with women affected by domestic violence, as well as working with many subpopulations. And she will be working with our board then to oversee what's happening in the shelter building on a day-to-day.
Can you share with the listeners some of the wins that Community Lifeline has had over the last year and a half with COVID? I know a lot of folks will drive by and make a whole lot of assumptions about the area around Brewer Park, Community Lifeline, stuff like that. But folks are working hard, and you're helping many folks.
We are. The impact that we have seen since COVID hit, back in March of 2020, we joined forces with the emergency management team. They came in and assessed our building to provide quarantine, isolation, and general population. And we did that. We have been the educators of the homeless population about COVID, getting people connected with immunizations, education. And what is happening is that people are really holding one another accountable. 100% of our staff are vaccinated. Probably 95% of our guests are vaccinated. We had a small outbreak last December. 6 people isolated it, and we haven't had any since. So we have been the educators on the COVID front to the homeless population. The other impact that we have noticed is that since we went 24/7, we went from part-time shelter 7 months a year to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, year-round. The impact we have seen is that with stability, people are beginning to heal faster. And so what we have seen in the past almost 2 years now is that people are gathering together in community. We're bringing people out of the margins and back into community. We're seeing things like people supporting one another in recovery, in job searches, in housing searches, in mental health, in substance abuse treatment. It's just been really incredible to witness all of that last 2 years.
And is that kind of peer-to-peer, or is that kind of navigator to peer?
It's both. We are an access point for coordinated entry at Community Lifeline, and so anybody that comes to our door, we will immediately do an intake and put them into services, regardless of who they are, and do a referral if we need to. But what we're seeing both. We're seeing people come in, get their intakes, get wraparound services, but then as people are in community, in communal living, they are supporting peer-to-peer one another. It's just pretty incredible to witness.
When it comes to the needs that you are identifying for the organization, what are some of those main ones that maybe somebody listening or watching can help you with?
Yeah, so there is, we are working now towards increasing our bed capacity from 35 to 50 year-round. And we have identified 2 subpopulations for that: women affected by domestic violence, as well as youth 18 to 24. And so we have an old building. We have one section of our building that we are continuing to refurnish and rebuild based on the needs of what we have. So moving forward, we are going to have some capital projects. Funding will be needed for a heating and cooling system, some dividers to subdivide out a very large room into smaller spaces so that we can serve our guests the best way, so that we're not traumatizing all shelter guests if someone goes into crisis.
Sure, for sure.
So that is the biggest need right now too. Moving forward, the bigger vision then would be to put an elevator in so that we have complete accessibility of all floors. We are in the process of working with an architect now for an accessible restroom on the second floor with a shower in it. So moving forward, there will be a lot of construction happening.
When you look at kind of the funding sources over the last year and a half, the federal government has probably helped quite a lot, and that's helped you expand services at a certain point. Are you concerned as you look down the road that those funding sources may eventually get turned off, and what happens to those services?
Yes, so moving forward, currently we have very diversified funding, but during the pandemic we received some CARES Act, some COVID funding, and we were able then to expand our services to full-time, as well as receive some capital funding to put a sprinkler system in our building, bring it up to fire code. We are concerned about that, but moving forward, I will be looking at some more diversified funding sources. We've got some other visions of programs and how we can best serve people within the building. And so just looking at some other funding sources, as well as some long-term sustainable funding sources, such as billing Medicaid for supported housing or supported employment. We're looking at endowments as well.
Sure.
Moving forward.
We again are at St. David's Episcopal Church talking with Barb Weza here, and mostly talking about Community Lifeline, which is just kitty corner to where we are right now in downtown Shelton. Plenty of services are available for folks. I'll put the links in the show notes here to the phone numbers and the websites for people to get involved. And then two, just one final, are the majority of the services Community Lifeline offers in the Shelton area specific, or are there broader Mason County opportunities for folks?
We are the only shelter in all of Mason County that serves individual adults.
Okay.
And one of our goals, we serve all of Mason County, but one of our goals, and that I will be doing, is I will be immersing us more in the northern end of Mason County as well.
Okay. Barb, it was good to see you.
You too.